feel terribly inadequate now without drums or glow sticks to dazzle you all with, but I'm here to talk about something that excites me very much, and that's soccer. I'd like to start first by thanking the organizers for doing a fantastic job today, and thank you all for coming out. I'd also like to thank two scholars, Peter Legge and David Goldblatt, for a lot of the insights that I'm going to share with you today. So this talk is about soccer as a global cultural medium, but I'd like to start with the local, and maybe not somewhere that you'll expect. It's the 1999 World Cup final. Over 90,000 U.S. soccer fans have packed the Pasadena Rose Bowl to witness the conclusion of the summer's media sensation. The U.S. women's national team has made the final to face China. Now, the media hype has labeled this as a historic moment for women's sports, and it didn't disappoint. There was a whole fighter jet flyover to the stadium, marking the Americanness of the event. But in the blistering summer heat, neither team can score. They've gone 120 minutes without a goal, so it's going to penalty kicks. China scores their first two, and the U.S. answers in kind. U.S. goalkeeper Brianna Scurry saves China's third kick. Christine Lilly and Mia Hamm score another two, and so do China. So it's all down to the final kick for Brandi Chastain. She scores, and she wins the World Cup for the United States. Chastain runs and kicks. The Chinese goalkeeper guesses right, but Chastain's put too much power behind the shot, and the U.S. wins the World Cup. Now, Chastain rips off her jersey, revealing her sports bra, and falls to her knees. It's a very iconic image for anyone who lived through the event. It's really hard to overstate what this moment meant, this moment of girl power, as it was called, in the summer of 1999, meant for an entire generation, not only of female soccer players, but of youth sports in America. Mia Hamm would feature in a commercial with Michael Jordan, competing in all sorts of sports, a clear message that girls could do anything boys could do in the athletic world. The women of that team, they all grew up playing soccer, and they grew up playing with boys. This country has had a very unique experience in that its young soccer players have grown up playing across gender lines. And this is common in the United States, to play across these gender lines. Every week here at MSU, who plays in the intramural leagues here at MSU? Many of you. Many of you all play co-ed soccer here, and that's a very unique experience in a global context of soccer. My point is that soccer matters in this country. It matters very much so. And in fact, the United States has had a long and mostly unremembered history of soccer. Soccer often gets accused of being foreign, a foreign import, but it's no more foreign than gridiron. The reason we handle our American football instead of primarily kicking it is simply because a few Ivy League schools in the late 19th century decided they were going to adopt one set of football rules over another. In the 1920s, the American Soccer League was pretty much on par with the NFL in terms of attendance. In the 1970s, professional soccer in America was reborn under the aegis of the North American Soccer League, whose famous New York Cosmos stole the headlines. The best players in the world, granted towards the end of their careers, played in this country. The stars of the NASL read like an all-time best list. Pelé, Franz Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, Giorgio Chinaglia, and that's just on the Cosmos. Other players included Bobby Moore, Johan Cruyff, George Best, Rodney Marsh, and a personal favorite of mine, Goal TV commentator Ray Hudson. In a more contemporary sense, over 16 million watched the English broadcast of the World Cup final, while over 8 million watched the Spanish-speaking broadcast on Univision. So that's around 25 million. That's double the amount of Major League Baseball's underwhelming 2010 World Series. And we have to go back to 2004 to find a World Series to beat that rating. Soccer has one of the highest youth participation rates at 4 million. So the fact is, soccer matters in this country in our local context. We speak soccer quite fluently in this country. So this means, what does this mean? It means we can communicate through a global cultural medium that is football, fuchibol, foosball, football, whatever we call it. Yes, human beings on this planet, we share music, we share food, we share other cultural mediums, but it's very hard to find something as specific as soccer that is shared so widely. Everywhere, the ball is round and you kick it into a net. So here's my idea I want to share with you. It matters here, and it matters a lot of other places. So if we all speak soccer, we should pay attention to something, and that is soccer reflects the world we live in, but on rare occasions, it can also change the world that we live in. So I'd like to tell you first about how football connects us in a very special way. I'd like to tell you a personal experience of traveling to Argentina. So I'm here doing my PhD in history at MSU, and I'm writing my dissertation about soccer clubs in the mid-1950s in Argentina. So one of the things I've learned in this privilege is that soccer can connect us in very, very practical ways. So my first summer of research in Argentina, it's my first time in the country ever. I'm there to plant the seeds for my dissertation, figure out if this thing that I want to spend the next 6 years of my life studying is actually feasible. And I email a few professors who have worked on soccer in Argentina, and it turns out they have a pickup game. So I land on a Tuesday, and the pickup game's on Wednesday. So pretty much the first thing I'm doing in the country is playing with these guys. And let me just clarify, I've played soccer most of my life, but I'm not a phenom by any stretch. So the prospect of my first impression, which is critical, on studying soccer, which everyone there is probably going to be better than me at and knows a lot more about as an academic context, that I'm putting all my eggs into this basket as my first impression has me really quite nervous. So it's 10 o'clock at night. It's not the nicest neighborhood in southern Buenos Aires, and I'm completely taken aback at this game that I find. The fields are an assortment of patchwork carpet laid over concrete that are sandwiched between columns that are supporting one of the busiest highways in Buenos Aires. So the rumbling of the cars overhead, there's leaks in the roof, all the lights shake as cars are passing overhead. It's quite an epic and ominous setting, as if I wasn't already unnerved enough. I find my crew finally, and they've welcomed me as the Yankee Donovan. Landon Donovan being one of our more famous U.S. soccer players here. So thanks a lot for already putting that weight on me to be the best that my country has to offer. Everyone's at least twice my age, but this counts for nothing. They've all played together for years. It's a close quarters game that my youth and speed mean absolutely nothing in. So I'm very nervous. I have a kind of nervous start, but then I play my game. I calm down. I actually manage to score a decent goal. And it's nothing that blows anyone away in terms of what I can do, but I've earned some credibility for myself. And ever since then, I've had a very warm working relationship with these academics, and I've had a weekly pickup game. So while the prospect of maybe meeting over coffee and books, which I met other people when I was interested in my studies down there, probably would have been a safer option, I know that nothing could have replaced that first experience I had with these very important people for my project, and it was football that offered me that medium to really connect with them. And many of you can probably think of an experience like that where playing together with somebody has made all the difference in that personal relationship. It's taken it to the next level. So that's how soccer can connect us. It also can captivate us like few things can in this world. Over 1 billion human beings watched Spain play the Netherlands for the 2010 World Cup. What a global experience. We can't really think of too many other instances of 1 billion human beings doing something together. Since my family's from Spain, I was quite captivated by the final, of course. But objectively, I think there was a more dramatic moment that I'd like to share. And that was Uruguay versus Ghana in the quarterfinal. This was the first World Cup in Africa, and it hadn't been a success for African teams to this point. Ghana was the only African team left from the continent. Great. I'm sorry I have to bring up this memory for you. Ghana is the only team left from the continent in the tournament, and they're facing off against tiny Uruguay, a country of just over 3 million. They had beaten the host, Uruguay, South Africa, 3-0, and advanced from the round of 16 with two deadly strikers, Diego Forlan, who would win MVP of the tournament, and Luis Suarez. Now, Ghana scores first after a very tight first half. It comes out of nowhere. Sali Muntari takes the ball pretty much from midfield, catches the Uruguayan keeper off guard, and scores an amazing goal. The Uruguayans respond in the second half from a free kick by Diego Forlan. Now, at this point, 1-1, some teams would kind of scale back, but both teams make offensive substitutions. They're both going for it. They both want to end this game in regular time, and they both are very capable of doing so and come very close to scoring their goals. But neither team can break the deadlock, and the game goes to extra time. Now, just to take a step back, I actually hadn't watched any of this. I was in Argentina doing my research, and I was at the Argentine Football Association's headquarters doing research for the day, and I'd already wasted way too much time watching World Cup games while I was supposed to be doing my research there. So I've come down from the archives in the elevator, and I find the two security guards staring up at the screen watching the game. And I stop and start watching, and they've just entered added time. And this is pretty much quitting time for the whole building. And we're in the nicest part. We're in the atrium. We're surrounded by marble. There's a TV screen. We're surrounded by all the trophies Argentina has won, their best teams. And everyone starts filing out at the end of the day. And before we know it, this atrium is completely full of everyone who works in the building who has stopped and realized, hey, there's a game on. Not only is there a game on, but it's the last African team in the tournament. It's Uruguay, our neighbors, who some Argentines have very strong feelings about in terms of rivalry. And they're going to watch what happens in this game. So, it's extra time. And the teams are still attacking. Asamoah Gyan is Ghana's relentless forward, who's been giving Uruguay a very difficult time in the back, and he's only becoming more dangerous as the Uruguayans are beginning to make mental mistakes. With 90 seconds to go before extra time ends and a penalty shootout is supposed to decide things, Ghana's throwing everything they can. Gyan looks like a demon possessed. He's dribbling down the sideline. He earns a corner kick, which Ghana again nearly score from. At this point, Uruguay is just trying to hold on. Ghana earns with 45 seconds left. The Uruguayan keeper Muslera makes an amazing kick, amazing save off a deflection from Kevin Prince Boateng. And the entire stadium is buzzing with vuvuzelas, willing for Ghana to end this in regular time, in extra time. Ghana earns a free kick, sends the ball in, and the most chaotic moment of the tournament ensues. The goalie punches the ball out. It ricochets like a pinball amongst the attackers and defenders, and Ghana get ahead in the ball. It's sailing in. Uruguay is about to lose with the last kick of the game, and instead something absolutely incredible happens. Uruguay's forward, Luis Suarez, suddenly decides he's a goalkeeper, and he calmly palms the ball out of its flight path and saves the shot and continues defending the line. In unison, every Ghanaian player raises their hand to call and starts yelling at the referee, and the referee duly calls the handball, produces a red card for Luis Suarez, and sends him off. Now, time has run out, so this last kick will be the deciding, this penalty kick will be the deciding feature of the game. So, Asamoah Gyan steps up to take the penalty. He picks his spot, he goes for power, he kicks, the ball slams off the crossbar. They're going into the penalty kicks. So Gyan is absolutely distraught. He's covering his face. But what does Gyan do? When penalty kicks are starting, the man who just missed the penalty kicks, who just missed the chance to put his country through, is the very first one to take a penalty kick for Ghana, and he scores it. Now, Ghana and Uruguay are trading penalty kicks. Ghana are the first to miss, but so do Uruguay. But then Ghana misses again. Uruguay's old veteran, Sebastian Abreu, is their final penalty taker. If he scores, they win. This is when the Argentines they immediately start muttering amongst themselves, and I notice, and they say, "Se lo va a picar," which means he's going to chop it. What this means is that Abreu isn't going to pick a spot and try and blast it with power. Abreu is going to fake like he's running at full speed at the ball, and then slow down and just chip it. Now, the risk in this is all the goalie has to do is stand there and save the ball. And it's a very bold move, but Abreu has actually made kind of a name for himself in his career doing this sort of thing. In fact, they call him El Loco Abreu because this is a particular style. And he's had it saved plenty of times. So he's running up to take their last penalty, and I feel like I'm watching the Ghanaian execution. I can't say anything about it. And everyone in the room there in Buenos Aires knows exactly what's going to happen. But the rest of the world is clueless. And so they're muttering, se le va a picar, se le va a picar. And sure enough, he runs at it, chips the ball. The Ghanaian goalkeeper is already diving, and all he can do is watch the ball sail past him. And Ghana are out. Uruguay go through. I mean, this was such a dramatic moment in that the hopes of the entire Pan-African fervor that had been ginned up by the World Cup came crashing to very cruel defeat. There's very few moments that I've experienced like that in my life. So this is all well and good. We can speak soccer, and it connects us, and it captivates us. But let me tell you a few stories about why we have to be critical of this shared cultural medium. The tournament that we were just talking about, the FIFA World Cup, is a profit-extracting, sovereignty-suspending greed fest run by corrupt football officials with very little accountability. The South African taxpayers shelled out nearly $7 billion, with a B, dollars to host the tournament, with most of the money going to stadiums and infrastructure. Many cases this had no sustainability after the tournament. FIFA gained a profit of $3.2 billion, with a B, dollars, tax-free. The local organizing committee raised just above $7 million to defray those costs. A piece of legislation called the Special Measures Act set a troubling precedent for the suspension of national sovereignty and constitutional rights inside a certain perimeter of the stadiums. FIFA had complete jurisdiction in this zone to enforce their commercial monopoly for FIFA-approved sponsors. This is an exclusivity that sponsors pay top dime for. The development goals to promote grassroots soccer and cultural expression were sidelined, and there was no structural improvement in the grassroots games as had been promised by FIFA and the local committee. The 2014 World Cup is being hosted by Brazil, and we should all be watching the headlines. FIFA and the organizing committee just pushed through the World Cup law, a piece of legislation that temporarily allows alcohol sales in the stadium, standard for FIFA, and suspends ticket discounts for students and pensioners, which is a long tradition in Brazil. These are key obstacles for the flow of profit for beer and tickets. While this is going on, a far less widely reported piece of legislation is awaiting a vote. It would expand the list of crimes that classify as terrorism the scalping of tickets and violating computer systems. The law also restricts striking workers until the tournament's over. And so many Brazilians are aware of FIFA's patterns. The head of the Human Rights Commissions in Sao Paulo says, I quote, "It's an absurd bill that wants to override the interests of popular sovereignty in favor of the market. It is a law to protect FIFA and not citizens, and it sets a precedence for injustice and vague definitions." The Brazilian state's also waging a campaign of mass evictions against the urban poor who inhabit the favelas or shanty towns around the various World Cup sites. And what does the price tag look like for Brazil 2014? $11 billion has already been earmarked just for tournament costs, with another $20 billion for tournament-related costs for roads, airports, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on and give 3 talks about just FIFA corruption. Qatar 2022, Russia 2018. Go ahead and just go look up the Cash for Votes FIFA scandal, and you can learn a little bit about what's been happening there. I want to finally tell you a brief story about a man named Justin Fashanu. He was the first black player in England to cost over £1 million in his transfer fees. Fashanu had a very bright career in the early 80s until his coach found out he was visiting gay nightclubs. Fashanu admitted his sexuality, and the coach barred him from training. After this point, Fashanu's career entered a very long decade of decline. Tried to resurrect his career here in the United States, among others, on other places. And he came out publicly in 1990 to the British tabloids. This made him a target of all sorts of vitriolic fan abuse. His brother disowned him, and many of his former teammates attacked his character. After years of struggling to make a living in the game, Fashanu hanged himself in 1998. My point is that soccer doesn't reflect just the good. Soccer also reflects the homophobia and racism and sexism that we often see in the stands, everything ugly about human prejudice as well. So what's the point? Soccer connects us, it captivates us, but it also can reflect the corruption, injustice, and bigotry that we know too well about in this world. But the point is that we as fans We have a say in what soccer reflects. It's our own societies that are reflected in the sport. And ultimately, we are the agents of our own societies. Notice, politicians, journalists, FIFA, they're always very quick to dismiss politics and sport. They declare it a neutral ground that politics should not enter on. But soccer is political. It's political with a capital P. And here's the opportunity. If we all speak soccer, we all must engage in the local and global politics of soccer so that we shape a sport that's often referred to as a beautiful game into something that truly reflects more beauty. Thank you.